Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining the Computrack presentation of credit card processing for Sage 300. Our host today is the North American Payment Solutions team, and they are going to be showing us their integration with Sage 300 and how they can process credit cards. Hopefully they can find you some cost savings around credit card processing and help you find some room in your budget to do more. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Devon Lildhar, who will show us the North American Payment Solutions. Take it away.
Thanks, Stefan. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for taking the time to spend some time to be with us, to look at exactly how you can streamline your business processes through North American Payment Solutions and our integration with Sage. And like Stefan said, open up some room in your budget. So I promise to make this presentation really worth everyone's time, and I hope that everyone gains some understanding of where you can open up some additional room in your internal budgets if you're struggling with how to find some room there for some additional technology spend. So you might be asking yourself why? Why should we even think about payment processing? And why should we even think about moving away from our existing bank or processor? So payment processing is really the cornerstone to any business these days. At the end of the day, we all need to get paid. So more and more, we're seeing merchants with the requirement to take credit cards. And really, if you don't already, then more than often, what's holding you back is kind of those rates associated with credit card processing. Oftentimes, those are overlooked and just viewed as either another cost of doing business or a reason not to get into credit card payment processing. With North American Payment Solutions, we're changing that, and we have been for over 10 years. So we've grown quite substantially, and last year and this year as well, we've been recognized as one of America's fastest growing companies. We now serve thousands of merchants from Miami to Vancouver and have merchants processing as little as $2,000 a month to as much as $20 million a month. So what's great is that we've built a team that can really let you guys as the merchants sit back and relax and enjoy our customer support team, which is available 24/7 and provides immediate assistance, which often means absolutely no time on hold or having to push, a number of those keypad buttons to get someone's attention. The real gold is in our fee structure. Often merchants get caught up in things like flat rates, which is an agreement between the processor and the merchant for a single rate across all card types, regardless of the card type should call for a lower rate, such as some MasterCard or Visa business cards. The most common pricing in the industry is known as tiered pricing, where processors bundle hundreds of different types of transactions into 3 different tiers. These are referred to as fully qualified, mid-qualified, and non-qualified rates. The goal of most processors is to get their customers to look at the lowest rate, the fully qualified rate, and ignore the 2 other pricing tiers. Where this gets a bit tricky is that merchants will usually choose the lowest fully qualified rate and ignore the 2 other pricing tiers when making their decision. And that usually results in a significantly higher rate amongst those tiers. What this type of pricing often results in is misdirection within the organization for you guys, the merchants, where they can't really pinpoint how much markup you're being charged for any given transaction. What North American Payment Solutions brings is that we lead with education. We want you guys, our merchants, to better understand the playing field and take back a large amount of that lost profit. For us, we only lead with Interchange Plus pricing. So Interchange Plus pricing provides transparency on your merchant statements to show what the set credit card fee is per card brand. This fee is set by Visa, MasterCard, and Amex and is non-negotiable. And that's the fee that everyone must pay. However, where you can save money is the markup. At North American Payment Solutions, we break out these fees so you know exactly how much North American Payment Solutions is making off of every transaction and how much the card brands are making. What this means is that you have a true business partner in the credit card industry to guide you through the maze of everything foggy, and a processor that will always provide a comprehensive rate that more than often blows our competitors out of the water. So here you can see an example of flat rate pricing. The example given shows that every transaction in which a card is swiped, the merchant is paying 2.75% to their payment processor. Additionally, every key transaction will cost that merchant 3.5% on those transactions. And this also doesn't include the fees associated with just maintaining that merchant account, which you can see at the bottom. The issue here is that you as the merchant are missing out on savings. Card brands have set rates for every card taken. What that means is that if you swipe a Visa business card, even though that card would call for a significantly lower rate, you're still being charged a non-transparent markup. Tiered pricing is a bit more complicated. As mentioned before, there are typically 3 different rate types associated with this processing structure. If you fall into this category, chances are you're probably getting a very good fully qualified rate for card types that fall into that category. However, on the other hand, there are usually a number of card types that fall into either the mid or non-qualified tiers. What that means is that you as the merchant will be paying significantly higher rates for any card taken which falls into those bottom 2 tiers. And that's not only confusing to you guys as the merchants as you conduct day-to-day business, but it also makes everything a little bit more difficult to pinpoint the exact true costs and markup for taking those cards. At North American Payment Solutions, we only offer Interchange Plus pricing. So this is the most transparent pricing structure, and you as the merchant will be charged the true rate set for those card types taken. These rates are set by Visa, MasterCard, and Amex, and those rates are non-negotiable. So you'll also be charged a markup just like every other pricing tier. However, the difference is that North American Payment Solutions actually displays our markup for every transaction on your merchant statement so that you as the merchant always know exactly how much we're making off of your day-to-day. The benefit is not only transparency, but with transparency also comes very competitive rates, since we always like to have merchants like you holding us to account on exactly what we're charging you. And because it's very transparent, you guys can do that. As mentioned before, there are a number of places that credit card processing rates and fees are distributed to. At the top, you can see, at the top you have the card issuers, second you have card brands, and at the bottom you have ISOs, which is the category that North American Payment Solutions falls into. North American Payment Solutions also offers level 3 transaction processing to our US-based merchants. Now, level 3 processing is going to be rolled out in Canada in Q1 of 2019. So if you're listening to this, as a recording maybe in the future, then we might already have that available here in Canada. Level 3 transactions typically cost a merchant 0.5 to 1.5% less than a standard level 1 transaction, and that amounts to huge savings for business-to-business companies. In addition, merchants receive detailed reporting that allows them to track transactions from beginning to settlement. Reporting can also be tailored with up to 60 different data points. So in order to qualify for level 3 processing, it's the merchant's responsibility to transmit a number of data fields to Visa and MasterCard to qualify for those lower rates. At North American Payment Solutions, we leverage your Sage 300 data. And because we're integrated with Sage 300, and we're the only true Sage 300 credit card processor, we are able to provide you that automation directly through Sage. This is an example of the detail fields required on the right-hand side to be transmitted to Visa or MasterCard to qualify for those lower rates. Imagine having to do that manually. Switching gears a little bit, along with being a credit card processor, North American Payment Solutions is also the gateway. So that's the service that actually authorizes the credit card and validates the information being provided to the merchant. What this means is even more savings for the merchant account. Now, instead of having to manage a processor and a separate gateway, you have both in one organization. So as you can see, even in the gateway, North American Payment Solutions is very competitive, and we're able to save some money. We don't charge for things like setup fees or daily batch fees, and our monthly gateway fee is also significantly less than most of our competitors. So this is an example of a North American Payment Solutions merchant statement assessment. So typically you guys would forward us 2 or 3 of your most recent merchant statements, and we'll do a cost comparison. So at the top, you can see the tiered structure I was talking about and the fees that this specific client is currently paying to their existing processor. In the middle, you can see the comparison to North American Payment Solutions and the card brand fees, which are clearly stated. And at the bottom, we show the savings. In this case, we were able to save this business about $1,400 a month, or almost $17,000 a year. So 30% less of what they were paying previously. Now imagine taking that savings and using it for additional business spend or technology spend. Maybe you're looking at that new upgrade. You can now do that because we've unlocked some of that savings. Most commonly, we see the following challenges amongst merchants. Most merchant service providers kind of have you in a space where you're looking at either expensive software, setup, maintenance, support fees. They usually don't provide level 3 processing. Usually funds are only provided 24 hours in, so 24-hour funding, which is commonplace throughout Canadian credit card processing. You're usually looking at high Amex rates, PCI compliance fees that can really be overcome through our solution. Support is often automated, so it takes a long time to reach a real person, and generally confusing merchant statements. So we're able to overcome those challenges through things like free installation, setup, training, maintenance, and support. Level 3 processing is available again to US merchants, but roll out for Canada in Q1 of 2019. North American Payment Solutions provides 12-hour funding to our merchants, and we're part of the Amex Blue program, which allows us to charge competitive Amex rates because we actually process Amex in-house. We provide free PCI support, which means that we have a separate team that will actually hound your organization and make sure that you guys are PCI compliant to overcome those PCI fees. And even if you choose not to become PCI compliant, then or take those steps to make your business PCI compliant, our fees are actually significantly lower than some of our competitors. Again, we provide 24/7 live support and transparent merchant statements. And we also provide guaranteed rates for the life of the account. You're not locked into a long-term contract with us as well. So you can leave anytime. We bill month to month, and you're locked in only month to month. So if you decide to leave us, then that's up to you. But again, it creates a little bit more of transparency within our organization and our business relationships, because you guys are really holding our feet to the fire in terms of the rates that we provide and the support that we provide you. We also have an ongoing challenge that you can market to, or that you can kind of take advantage of. So if we receive 2 of your most recent merchant statements and North American Payment Solutions cannot save or match your existing merchant rates, we'll actually provide you with $500 just for the consideration. So these are the steps that you guys can take to begin working with us. We can get you up and running very quickly. As mentioned here, we have several integrations to e-commerce suites, different POS solutions, and we also have a question I get asked a lot is if we actually have physical terminals for somebody who's in a brick and mortar situation, and we definitely do. So if you do need any support, please feel free to reach out to myself directly, or you can reach out to Stefan, and we'll be able to get in touch and actually onboard you guys. So before I go, I really wanted to show you guys the actual integration to Sage. So I'm just going to switch screens really quickly, and I'll show you guys exactly how we can process directly within the Sage environment. Okay, perfect. Okay, so as you can see here on the left-hand column, we've actually built a separate module that sits directly within your Sage environment. So when you click on that, you're taken to this nice kind of landing screen here where you can control how you process credit cards. So I usually like to start with setup, because this kind of gives you an understanding of all of the options and how easy it is to kind of configure credit card processing within the environment. Specifically, what I like to kind of point out is that we have built in the ability to split AR batches by payment code, and that's really important for reporting reasons, and most businesses just leave that checked on. You can check it off if you want, but it allows you to split out exactly how much is being processed through Visa and Amex and MasterCard separately, or if you do take Discover, everything separately. We've also built in level 3 processing. So again, this allows us to read the Sage data fields and report back certain information to Visa and MasterCard so that you guys can qualify for lower rates. Okay. Now, because we're built in directly to Sage and we're reading the Sage data fields, you're able to see all of your existing customers that are set up within Sage. So for this example, we're just going to use Ronald Black. And for Ronald, you can see that we actually have a default credit card already set up for this customer. If we click on this magnifying glass, you can actually see that we have 5 other credit cards also set up for them. So it allows the backend staff really easy ability to kind of go in and switch between cards if there's any reason for maybe a personal card that's set up, different corporate cards for any reason. Okay, now you can see that everything is vaulted and secure. So all you're able to see is, the last 4 digits of that card and the card expiry date. If you wanted to, everything is based on Sage user permissions. You can actually lock down any of this information based on the user that's looking at the screen. So people don't need to have the ability to change things like the zip code, the address, the currency type, or anything like that. But if you do want them to have those permissions, we can leave those open. You can add a new credit card very easily. We've also built in a field here where you can enter an email address. So when a transaction is processed against that card, an email will go to that customer notifying them of that transaction. Okay. You can update cards, delete cards, set default cards. Okay, so right now we're just going to go through a typical order entry scenario. So if you guys are familiar with the Sage order entry screen, you'll have a really good understanding of this process. The only difference that we have within this screen is that we've actually built in an APS credit card payment button, and that will allow us to actually process credit cards. So again, we're just going to go in, we're going to choose Ronald Black. And let's say that Ronald is opening up a new office space and he needs 20 new desk lamps for that office. Just go in, select 20. Once we hit post here, we're not going to print because we're in a demo, but once we hit post, you can see this APS credit card payment button has lit up. So we're just going to click on that. And that screen opens and it'll actually allow you to go in, switch between those credit cards very easily if you need to, even set up a new credit card on the fly if you're talking to someone over the phone. You can change that transaction amount if you need to. You can pre-authorize that transaction, which is great for people who are in maybe a hotel environment and just need to have a hold on that credit card. Or you can just simply make a sale. For this example, we're just going to pre-authorize this so I can take you guys through exactly what the full scope would look like. So once we click pre-authorize, what's happening here is all of that information is going through our gateway and it's being verified. If any of that information was to be incorrectly inputted, say the credit card expiry date was off, the zip code, anything like that, then it would actually come back with an error and we can make those changes at that time. But for this purpose, it's actually being approved. So we'll click OK. And down here at the bottom on the transaction history, you can actually see that pre-authorization. And that transaction history will stay with the transaction for the life of it. Okay, we'll just close out. We'll hit ship. And then we'll post. And again, we're not printing. And we'll close out this screen. Now, to complete a pre-authorized transaction, all you have to do is go into this screen here, click into that customer, open up that shipment. So here you can see this is the last one we did today. And when we do that, you can see this APS credit card payment button has lit up again down here at the bottom. So we're just going to click on that, and this will allow us to complete our sale. So in the US, if you are a US customer, you can actually change that transaction amount. In Canada, there are restrictions that allow you not to. So whatever makes sense to your current business environment, we can actually click and make that sale, or we can void that transaction if we need to. So we're just going to make the sale. And click yes. And again, everything's going through the vault, going through our gateway and just being verified. And here you can see that that transaction has actually been posted and we have completed that transaction. The sale's actually being made, okay? And that's really all you need to do. So once we close that out, that's it. If you need to, maybe if you have invoices that were created elsewhere within Sage, maybe within the accounts receivable, then you can actually process transactions that way as well. Okay, So if there are any questions, I'm happy to take them now. Stefan, do you have any questions that you can see on your side?
No, it looks good to me. No questions coming through.
Okay, awesome. So again, everybody, thank you so much for your time. If there are any questions or anything following this webinar, then please feel free to reach out to Stefan or myself directly, and I'd be happy to help you guys figure out exactly how much you can save and how you can make your credit card processing in the AR side a little bit more efficient.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Devin.
Thanks, Stefan.